Senator Massiah.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to make my contribution to this debate on the budget for Antigua and Barbuda for 2023. Madam President, before I start, I must say that I was actually going to cite you for having me in this cold freezer box, and it's a health and safety condition. But I want to thank you, Madam President, for instructing the officer to go and turn that thing down immediately.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right.
I'm a concerned presiding officer. I
Yes,
look out for the interests
I
of
must
all.
say, and I accept that, Madam President, so I just want to acknowledge, because as the International Labour Organization known, and your conditions of health and safety in these conditions is one that is important, because I know the leader of government business have been folding her arms so long, because she's cold inside here. So I just want you to take, acknowledgement of that.
And they normally call me out if I don't recognize it, because
Yes.
sometimes my temperature is different too. So thank you, Senator.
You're welcome. Madam President, as I said, on behalf of this side, I rise to make my contribution. And before I get into my full discourse that I have today, I just want to say that, it's a pleasure to be here to serve the people of Antigua and Barbuda, and to represent and to continue to represent the working class of Antigua and Barbuda on a whole in the chambers of this hallowed halls. Madam President, I just want to take a few things as, especially after Senator Hurst would have made her presentation. I just wanted to more or less touch on one or two points that Senator Hurst would have raised in regards to the notion that, there's a cry from the opposition that, the budget, and it is more than the budget that is there. What we are seeing, that wages and salaries take up more than 80% or more than 70% and so on. And that there seem to be this cry that we are saying that people are working for too high wages. I don't think that is what we're saying. We are saying from this side that here it is that you set up this budget, and all of this wages that is there, that you have set aside in salaries, what is there for the same human resource development? You want to be an economic powerhouse in the Caribbean, and you have stated that that is what it is. But your human resource development is behind. We're still struggling. And so we're just saying within the whole concept that, we want you to be balanced with the process. It is not just that we are saying that, you're paying salary and wages. And I will come back to that to show exactly what the Prime Minister would have mentioned, and even in the indication of the business plan from the Ministry of Labor, how you put out that. But I'll just mention that. The other thing that Senator Hurst actually pointed out about on page 17, no, let me make sure that I have it right, sorry, page 8 of the Prime Minister's budgetary statement and presentation. And the reference is made to the 900 self-employed and employed that were added on to the Social Security register. Figures. Do we understand what it represents? We're just saying the numbers are there. Have we checked, do you come and balance it to say exactly how much of those continue to pay into the Social Security? Or they are struggling? Have they left? Are they continuing? You're just coming and telling us numbers. Yes, within this very hall, we are saying that numbers don't lie. We understand, but it's how you project and reflect the process that is there. So I just want to say, it's all nice and dandy and sensationalize to talk about it, but go further and explain the process, not just a two-liner to express about what is happening there. Tell us in a whole sense what it is that this represents to us and what does it mean. And I just want to say to Senator Hurst and the others on the opposite side that when we, between 2004 and 2014, it is, the records are there to show that, you know, the very good comrade in the likes of Fermancho, via Christian, and as a member of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, or as a member of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, that he was part of all the strikes, that when we left the port and walked to the Prime Minister's office, closed the port more than once, while under the United Progressive Party, the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union did that more than once. And you want to go and look at that, Madam, I would just say, Madam President. But I'm just saying, just to give you just some context to your position. Madam President, I just want to say that, I mean, as I started, the budget estimates, when we look at it and assess the whole thing, is more or less to pay salaries. For us, there seems not to be any development, the self-development that is made out for human resource development that I'm talking about, both from the Labor Department side and in the public sector side. So I'm looking at both sides, because you have the area that the public administration that is basically dealing with the civil service, and of course the Ministry of Labor that deals with the private sector, the non-established, the grouping. And so literally, Madam President, I think that there needs to be, when I looked at the budget, there was not enough information, discussion that has basically come to us to tell us exactly that the government is really serious with the development process of the human resources in Antigua and Barbuda. Because that is the most important factor. The human resource development in our country is important for us to achieve that economic powerhouse that we so talk about under this situation. And so, Madam President, I just want to focus on that aspect and to really rest that within the purview of the members on the other side. When we talk about, Madam President, and on page 17 of the budget and the Prime Minister's presentation, and we're looking at the same aspect of the commitment to public servants and the highlighting of that has been really put there, that the categories of sectors, including teachers and whatever, all of this was basically done. But Madam President, you know, as I sat down and prepared for this budget, one of the things that actually was drawn out to me is that the negotiation process to really talk about salaries and for increases for staff, the workers throughout. I mean, when you look back at it, it never happened under this administration properly. This administration does not conduct negotiations. And I can go back to say, Madam President, that in 2018, the promise, the great idea that was promised about this 5% that was basically going to be rolled out, Madam President, and that, I mean, that they were going to come back to have discussion after the elections. Look when they came back, in 2022. In 2022. And during that process, Madam President, I'm just saying that that 5% that was promised and obviously went, the workers are now in another stage where they're looking at another back pay because they're seeking to fight to get the adjustment. Because what is happening, you know, the economic conditions of the country continues to outstrip the wages and salaries of the workers of this country on a daily basis. because we're not keeping step with the process. And that is something that this government has continued to fail, Madam President. And under the situation, Madam President, it would appear that it's only around election time that you talk about negotiations. And so again, Madam President, it was on a certain radio program that the announcement was made that, there's going to be a 4% increase, again to public servants, as a promise. But the mandate that was given to the people who were doing the negotiation on behalf of government, they had 2%. So they didn't know anything about this 4%. So it's an ad hoc kind of operation that continues to carry on within the government. So you're treating the people, the most important resources in this country, the working class, with plenty disdain. And that is what it is, Madam President. So the whole process, when you analyze the situation, Madam President, negotiations continue. Never come back, they wait until elections to come back to then put it on the table. And then to force you and to give you all kind of goodwill. Because, some of the people, they forced this one month goodwill last year in December. And there are some members who still have not received that. There are some members who have not received that 1 month that they were promised. And so, Madam President, the people out there, the working class people, those within the public sector are asking the government to do what is right by them. And that is what I'm saying, Madam President. So in the budget speech, they did not hear anything about that. And so they are grieved by their positions that, look, the government has not been talking to them and they don't know where they're headed. And Madam President, when you look at when we continue to look at the public admin, that there is a Civil Service Act, and I'm just asking the government, they talk about the same word of reclassification, and I'm talking about in the budgetary presentation by the Prime Minister on page 17, that last sentence of that first paragraph. Our government will also continue the reclassification of other public sector workers this year. That is lip service. I am seeing that is lip service. Madam President, this is where I'm going. That when this government came into power in 2014, they met a process that was undertaken by the World Bank and the United Progressive Party in the aspect of reclassifying the entire public service. And what they did, they take it and say, Natia, that now come and put it aside. They put it aside. That is where, so there was an aspect, there was an approach, there was a systematic approach in seeking to bring our public servants in a process, to bring them in line, to ensure that the public sector workers are comparatively with their peers in other territories as public servants. So that, Madam President, we don't see the situation that was before 2004, where you find that you have non-established people who are working far ahead than the civil servants. And you create an anomaly, and that is an anomaly that they have not corrected. And so, Madam President, that Civil Service Act need to be brought to this Parliament so that we can upgrade, because that Civil Service Act has not had an amendment, and it's time enough that we get an amendment to that Civil Service Act so we can cover, like all the beautiful people, Madam Clark and so on, and everybody here would obviously get some sort of proper process being done, Madam President. Madam President, it is really, really important, and I really want to stress the importance of, if you're talking about the reclassification, do it meaningfully. time enough. Let us stop playing these skipping around the process. Let us stop, bringing and talking because we think that we can do it. No, no, no. Let us say what we're going to do and make sure that we put things in order, Madam President. Because you see that reclassification, it will knock out all of these anomalies that they have within the system and streamline the process properly. And we think that it is there. The exercise was done under the United Progressive Party because they look at people first and they were thinking about the working class of this country, and we wanted to basically go forward with that. Madam President, when this government, utilizing the same discussion from the Prime Minister's presentation, and I'm not doing like Minister Assad, Member Assad, but I'm not taking up anything now. I just want to make sure that I have the right process before me. Madam President, when you talk about this reclassification of the workforce, this government continues to create the problem bigger for us. Let me look at business plan, the business plan, page 399. And I'm going there for a particular reason. Yeah, I just wanted to, yes. The business plan, 399. And I'm just basically using, Madam President, that the process of the public sector, the non-established, that if we're not careful, we're going to just balloon this system. And that is where I mentioned this morning under my breath, that there's no private sector because the government begins to compete in itself within that space, and you're shrinking the very private sector that is supposed to be an engine of development in this country. Here it is that in this business plan, Madam President, and you're talking, the government, in the discussion that the Prime Minister would have mentioned, 800 plus employees that were on the job program were just offload into the public sector system or into the government. So they're now employed fully, 800. And nobody did any sort of analyzing, to look at, to see exactly where these people are going. To see how nobody, Madam President, at no time, Madam President, have they sat down to say, well, exactly where the skill sets of those people are. Where those skill sets, and Madam President, I don't want you to protect me. I don't want a protection because I can shut out the noise. Because that is what the noise is, the noise represents. I am saying, Madam President, none. Because if it was there, you would have given us the importance to tell us. And some of those very people who were promised that they're going to be employed are still lingering while you take on another set of people. Madam President, all that this government does is just kind of sugarcoat things, sweet talk, and do things out of the way that will continue to see that this government, this country, will not become the economic powerhouse that they want to jump on. Madam President, I am not here to argue. I am saying that under the situation, that the work experience program under this government, and Madam President, one of the challenges that I have with the program, that the program in itself, Madam President, is that you have people, the program is supposed to set up, and it is a good thing, that you need to have a program to train people. Apprentice. There must be a process. But the apprentice, these people stay on the program for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And they're robbed and denied of vacation benefits. They are denied vacation because they don't get it. They don't get it. And so, Madam President, what you're doing, you are abusing a group of the people in this country. And we need to stop it. So this program, under the situation, Madam President, I am just saying that the process must be done properly. So if we're going to run a job program where we are going to analyze the skill sets, what we need, knowing that we need 10 carpenters, whatever it is, where they are, we must be able, coming out of that job program, to know exactly where we can identify and send people on to further training as well. Because we have the University of the West Indies, the Five Island campus, we're happy. So that you can send people there too, because you're training. That is what I'm talking about. The involvement and making sure that you have the resource development basically going. So, Madam President, I continue to really support that process. Madam President, I just want them to understand that is where I am. I'm not really worried about all the noises on their side. When you get up, you can make your noise. Madam President, I went looking within this business plan, and I'm looking for what it is that to show me that the human resource development has been done. Within the public administration, there's none. And so I am asking, you know, what are the figures for? What are the figures based on that you're using? What are you doing? And we need proper management in those processes, Madam President. And Madam President, I am moving on to the Labor Department. I'm just swinging in between. The Labor Department talk about a tripartite council in the budget, in the same business plan on page 398 and 399, Madam President. That is where my focus is. I am a labor practitioner, so I am staying within my lane, and I am speaking from my heart and with authority. Thank you very much, Madam Leader. Madam President, the same business plan, reference about a national tripartite council. When last did this committee meet? When last did this committee meet? Madam President, within the same document, the same of the business plan, and we talk about the LMIS, and that this is this system. Madam President, it says in one of the bullet points, during the 2022, the change implemented in the work permit program continued to bear fruit. The new system is even leaner and provides improved interactions and service delivery to customers. Even with the ongoing pandemic, the staff within the work permit unit continue to deliver high-quality services to customers. Work permit applications continue to be captured into the renamed labor market information system, which is called the Labor Administration Application. Madam President, I am at a loss again, because you see, this is a business plan that we're supposed to see exactly what is going to happen for 2023 and beyond. This is telling me something that is happening that has passed and where. There's no plan. There's no plan, Madam President. So I'm asking, you know, what is the information? There's no statistical information, Madam President, at all that we can rely on. None, because nothing has been published by this labor administration application that I'm seeing that the Minister of Labor obviously referenced in his business plan. Madam President, the Labor Department in Antigua is underfunded and not given priority, as far as I'm concerned, in its business. It is the most important institution in this country when it comes to ensuring the management of our human resource people, because it is there to take care and deal with matters between employers and obviously the employees. And Madam President, that department And I'm asking that the Labor Department, the Labor Minister, take an immediate stock. And Madam President, since the election, we take note, and I heard my lead on this side was actually looking for a particular person on that side. And that is the former Senator Hyman Payne. Since the government, since the election, Madam President, we have not seen nor heard, well, who will be the junior minister in Ministry of Labor? And, Madam President, in that situation, with that person, with that function gone, Madam President, what you're seeing, that a very critical part of the labor administration, whereby when there are issues at the various level, and it is not settled at the Labor Department, the junior minister is the one that will sit to hear these matters before we go to the court. The Minister of Labor can't have enough time, now, to deal with the matter. And so under that situation, you just demonstrate again that, there's no priority with the workers in this country, so you can stay there. Madam President, Madam President, based on my knowledge and information, and knowledge of where the situation is, there is nobody, none, and the Minister of Labor alone can handle all of what he's doing. And so that is a critical component, and the Minister of Labor must come and tell us exactly how we're going to deal with it. If she's there, come and tell us. It is a minister's role, so she can't still be functioning in that position because she's not a minister. So don't come and tell me that, she's still functioning. It's a minister's role, according to the Labor Code, and it's a minister role that you go to the minister. She's not a minister. So, Madam President, that is my position. Staffing in the Labor Department, Madam President, the staffing, and I'm thinking is woefully low. The practitioners, the unions, we can't get things done properly because, we need the human resource within that department. As I said, what the Labor Department, what they have been doing, they seem to just migrate people out of the job program and put them into the system. Yes, they're working. I have sympathy for some of these workers. But then you need the training, the continuous development of them to bring them to a level which the minister in himself indicated that, look, under the situation with these young people, it shows once they're now coming, with all that they're doing, that, the experience and so on, that young employed people within the opportunities, and I'm reading the last bullet point on page 399, the new work experience program continues to provide unemployed people with opportunities of personal and professional development. During 2022, the program continued to provide apprenticeship and internship options with numerous employees in Antigua and Barbuda. At the backdrop of the pandemic, the program continued to provide placement to a large number of young people and for many businesses and participants. And it go on to the other part, which is a win-win. The next bullet point is where I should have gone, Madam President, because it is talking about the utilizing of these apprentices and how the Labor Department literally is excited how they help. I am saying, Madam President, coming from that area of the job program, they do not have the full experience to go and be conciliators within the Labor Department, to come and provide some guidance and adjudication to deal with matters. They do not. And so under the situation, what I'm asking that the Labor Minister recognize, that whilst you're doing that, make sure that you're going to provide the training for these people. Provide the training. Provide the training. Some of you don't understand. The 3 years that they're working, they're not working in the Labor Department, they'll be working maybe someplace else. They're just there to be carrying, to maybe answer the telephone. That is the work that they might be doing. to maybe carry out a letter. They're not taking on the full aspect of it. And Madam President, so that is an area that the Labour Minister needs to focus on. That is why I'm saying the priority needs to be coming there. Madam President, the other area is the Labour Inspection Unit within that department. To inspect, where I can then call the Labour Inspector to come and tell him, check the Parliament building because they have mold or they have stuff there, they have that. The Labour, they don't have enough fireplace, they escape if there's a fire in the building, that they have these things in place. We need that unit to be manned properly. And so I'm asking and calling on the Labour Minister. That is where I'm talking about, where you're talking about your budget and wherever, and you're talking about progress, empowerment, and you're the greatest country in the Caribbean. Let us go that way, Madam President. And so there's where we go. Look at the personnel development, a lot to come through the program. Madam President, as I said, Madam President, I think it is important that the investment should be in our human resource development so that we can really boast. We don't want nobody else to be coming from out of Antigua and take up these positions, but we have somebody in Antigua who can then step up to the plate. We're not preparing our people. We need them to help them, to facilitate the process, Madam President. And that is one of the things that the Labour has to do, and we are focusing. Madam President, I think it has been almost 9 years now since this government has taken the reins of the country. And there has been in the pipeline the discussion on the Labour Code and the amendments, and for it to be at the table. I think it is time, Madam President, and that is, I must commend the hard-working people within the National Labour Board, which is including all of the unions that have really represented, the employers and the government. They have done their work. I am saying it is time for us to bring that piece of legislation, piece of information to these chambers so that we can have a revised and an updated labor code in Antigua and Barbuda that is reflecting what is happening in today's world. Because I'm quite sure that it took into account the recent situation with the pandemic, took into account all of that, and we think it is time enough. Based on information, Madam President, I understand that it is before the drafters within the government, but it is time enough. I am asking the Minister of Labour to ensure that that piece of legislation reach the House so that we can have the discussion. Madam President, my view again has to go with the Occupational Health and Safety Bill. We need a revamping, Madam President. We need to see a new bill that takes care of our occupation, health and safety conditions at our workplaces. What is really guiding us today, Madam President, and you should know, that we are using the still 1951 Act. I think that is what it is called reference to, and leader of government business, am I correct? That is what is the 1951 Factory Act. We need to see a change. We have migrated from then to now, where we have all kind of, the West Indies oil, there are all of these things. All of these things need to be in place. Madam President, I remember when I sat as a member of the National Labour Board, I ensured that we got a copy of the legislation from Trinidad and Tobago to guide us, to help us to make a modern situation, and that was back before 2014. That was before 2014. We're here now. Madam President, we're here now. So at this time, Madam President, I think we have moved on. COVID pandemic has come and has again changed the conditions, and we need that in a hurry. So I'm asking the Minister of Labour, make haste, and let us make sure that we can take care of any serious situations that are coming in the country, that we have them prepared. So, Madam President, I am looking at that for that aspect. I just think, Madam President, that when I look at the budget, as I said, Madam President, I mean, from a labor standpoint, we think that the labor situation in Antigua and Barbuda needs to be given more priority. And so the Minister of Labor and the business plan that has been set out here, it is left to be desired, Madam President, because it did not really tell us anything. It didn't give us anything. It just tells us what happened in 2022. There's no forward thinking. There's no what is going to happen in 2023 and how we're going to arrive and what is going to be done. When you read that, Madam President, I mean, for me, forgive me, when I look at a business plan, it's supposed to be giving me a direction. It's a roadmap as to where I'm going to go. I don't find that in this particular situation, Madam President. Madam President, I wanted to touch on the aspect of the global port or whatever. I listened to the Senator really outlined her thoughts. But Madam President, I think there are others who would speak on it or can, but I think that there's a more important matter that I want to touch on. All right, Madam President? Madam President, I have been, I must say, that I listened to presentations in the Law House, and I should not be disappointed of some of the utterances that came from the House. And I must say that I was not disappointed, but I listened as the Prime Minister of this country, the Honorable Gaston Brown, and I would say this to anyone, that I will never, ever disrespect any member, especially if that person sits as Prime Minister, because that is where the respect is basically given. I am just saying, Madam President, that I listened to the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister sought to demonize the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union. Demonize the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union. We're misleading. We're doing everything. And the Prime Minister is the one that is demonizing and really throwing all kind of, insults at the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union. I just want to say, Madam President, and I'm going to crave your indulgence now for a little overtime if I happen to roll over the time. But I'm craving the indulgence.
You're not at your time yet. You have 20 minutes.
I still have 20 minutes? All right, Madam President. Madam President, I just want to start to say that the Prime Minister, when he was a worker, and he was leaving Swiss American Bank, and it was time when he was wrapping up, he didn't go across to the Antigua and Trades and Labor Union. He sat in the offices of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union with yours truly, just to go over to make sure that, everything that is done there was done by him was correct. So how are you demonizing the same people that, they're who you talk to? So you talk to. Okay? Madam President, I look at the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union. I just want to, for contextual history, for them to understand that the Prime Minister, and I would say the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, let me say it before I go there, the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union is proud of its history. It's the only trade union in Antigua and Barbuda that has provided this country with two leaders. Out of the bosom of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union came two leaders, Sir George H. Walter, our national hero, and well, I will say Sir Baldwin Spencer, came out of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union. So obviously something good is there. The Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, Madam President, has led the Caribbean trade union movement for years, and say all they want. They say they are a labor government. And they must understand that labor throughout, the labor unions were the ones who helped form this new Caribbean. The Caribbean trade union movement were the ones who, they are the bedrock. And the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union was among that group. In 1960, Sir George H. Walter was a vice president of the Caribbean labor movement. In 1972 and up to later down, the late Malcolm Daniel served as first vice president again of the Caribbean labor movement. That says something. A brother, Maurice Christian, who served as president of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, served as the education person for the Caribbean labor movement for 14 years as well. I'm just giving you some context. In 2007, yours truly, Madam President, became first vice president of the Caribbean labor movement and served for 3 years. In 2010, Madam President, yours truly again became the president of the Caribbean labor movement. And I served for 2 terms unchallenged, leading the Caribbean.
Did you say unchallenged?
Unchallenged, and served. And it was then, Madam President, during that tenure, unknown to many, unknown to them, during that tenure, Madam President, the President and his team operated and carried out a European-funded project of over 2.5 million for the entire Caribbean to make sure that the Caribbean labor movement reached to a particular pinnacle. And that's what we did under the leadership of the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union. So when the Prime Minister stands up in this House and is saying that the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union is misleading all of the workers within all of the unions in LIAT, of course, it's misleading. It's misleading. And that is where we are, Madam President. Under the process, we continue to demonstrate the kind of leadership that we have within this region. Madam President, when everything was going down the hill, in 2012, as leader of the LIAT unions, we met with all the prime ministers of the Caribbean in Barbados, and indicated to them clearly that we, the unions throughout the Caribbean, we have lost all confidence in the people that you leave to manage the organization because they're destroying it. We wrote and gave them a document and showed them all of the failures, Madam President. And we showed them exactly that here it is, that any good government, any good company that had a situation of a fire that destroyed its hangar, most important, destroyed plane, and had no backup information, that the person who is head of that team, in a wait for nobody come and tell you need to go through, he just pack up his book and then go to the door and say, well, I have to resign. But they continue to serve. Up to today, he's still up there, supping at LIAT when he allowed the place to go down, but he didn't get no licks on his hand. Who get punished? The workers of this country and who work so hard for LIAT. That is where I'm going, Madam President. And so, that is where we are. Come fast track to the period that 2020 COVID pandemic forced the closure of LIAT. and we are sitting down to talk, the Prime Minister of this country, when the Barbados Prime Minister and St. Vincent as major shareholders indicated that, look, we don't want nothing else to do with this. We're going to liquidate this thing, just throw it away. The Prime Minister came back to Antigua and said quickly, well, I'm going to go to Parliament, and I'm going to do what I have to do, and the unions to basically be there to support me. Madam President, without a blink of an eye, the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union again galvanized all of the unions and had an opportunity where we used the union hall, gathered all the people from Antigua, and made sure that every single one, every union, from as far as Trinidad and Tobago right up, could be listening to our Prime Minister speak. My chest was busting because I'm excited. I'm getting them to listen to my Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister says, well, look, I'm going to talk to you. Those are the people, those are the governments who want to throw away the Liat, and I'm going to save it. I need your help. And the famous words that the Prime Minister used, but if I'm going to do this, you're going to have to take a haircut, man. You must take a haircut. And there was a young lady who stood up and said, Mr. Prime Minister, that haircut must represent, well, if I'm going to take the haircut, it goes into the shares. Goes into shares. Okay? Do whatever it is that you want, because you're coming. The Prime Minister, listen, you must listen. Shares into what the Prime Minister wants to go, because he's not liquidating the company. He put it in administration because he's going to do whatever it is. Madam President, that is where the situation is. So the workers bought hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and sinker under the process. And they bought into it. Madam President, and I mean, you know, I was told by my leader that I need to print a copy and so on, because I don't want to read from something. So I have some extra copies that I would share with you. So I would make sure that I give you have a little up and down to do, Mr.
Senator, if you give him all that you have now.
You want me to give him all that
yes,
I have now?
Yes, and I will scrutinize them and then give him to circulate.
No problem, Madam President.
It'd be nice if you give them before next time, right?
I understand, Madam President. I mean, I am doing all of that to you, Madam President. Madam President, the budget that I'm talking about, it featured some part of Liat because the Prime Minister speaks in it. So it is part of my presentation. So I'm not really worried by that, you know. But Madam President, I think I gave. Let me see, make sure that I didn't give you. Yeah, I gave you a copy there. The first one that there. Madam President, could you give me back a copy there of July 2020? Yes, July 20, yes. That's the first, the one-sheeter. I just want to read. I'm taking my time, not to be distracted by yeah, man, thank you very much. Madam President,
take your time. I want to hear.
At that time when the Prime Minister spoke, he left with the blessing of the workers throughout the Caribbean. All of the people throughout the Caribbean agreed, and all the workers. And he went with that to come to Parliament, pass this bill to create the administration. And so on July 28th, as you have there before you, the letter from that says Liat on the administration, from the administrator, Mr. Cleveland Seaford. You would see, Madam President, and he says, this letter is to formally advise, and that is to me, that on July 24th I was appointed administrator of Liat 1974 Limited. The appointment was made by the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court in the High Court of Antigua and Barbuda in accordance with Section 556, 1 and 2 of the Companies Act, Amendment Act number 17 of 2020. Madam President, it goes on, and I'm reading the third paragraph. It says a key task is to prepare and file a restructuring plan with the court within 120 days of my appointment. The preparation of a restructuring plan would require dialogue, and I want you to underline that word, dialogue
Sergeant.
and negotiations.
Sergeant.
Dialogue and negotiations with the company's various stakeholders. And the unions are a stakeholder. So, Madam President, the stakeholders, we are there, we want to. And it says, and I want you to know that it says 120 days. Count 120 days from the 28th of July. It done long time. Expired. Expired. And what has continued to happen, Madam President, is that the administrator himself then went to court sometime in December, like a thief in the night, and then asked the court to suspend all of the collective agreement, disband them, shut them down, and decided that, look, we don't want no more talks with nobody, we're going to do what we have to do. We have continued to appeal to see exactly why is it so secretive that you have the closed activity, that representation to the court has been closed since. We can't get it open. But you just go and amend every time. That matter. And you're having administration over administration. It's over 2 years now. Over 2 years now. And so if that is not highway wickedness, that is show next level type of caring of the people. Next level caring for the people. And that is how it basically comes across. So, Madam President, under the situation, nobody is caring, but all you're jumping up and talking about that the workers must do this, workers must do that. That is highway wickedness. Frustrating the workers who would have given their life to have an administration such as LEAT running for so long. And you're just going on and on, carrying on with LEAT and not doing anything. Madam President, during that period, the unions continue to try and have a discussion with the administrator to try to reach some sort of understanding. We moved this, we changed the goalpost in March of 2021. The then junior minister, the Honorable Lennox Weston, would have written to us and said, well, look, take it or leave it, because the government can't do anything. You're going to have to take it in cash, lands, and bonds.
That letter is here?
No,
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'm just making reference. Madam, I'm just going back, Madam President. I know that letter is not there. I'm just saying that was an indication from the minister then. Madam President, we have been negotiating back and forth, seeking to have some sort of assistance for us to reach a particular way, Madam President. And that has not been coming. In 2021, back and forth, we're going back and forth. I'm just trying to fast track because of time, Madam President. In 2021, in November, there was a letter, and you have that letter before you, and I deliberately, because I want to show that, there are different people involved. This is a letter to Captain Patterson Thompson. But obviously, all the unions received the same letter. And this was written by Mr. Kanata Lee, which is basically Secretary to the Cabinet. Madam President, and I just want to go on, and I'm going to read from the second paragraph. The government of Antigua and Barbuda does not accept any legal liability for severance arising from LEAT 1974 Limited, but is prepared to make a compassionate payment of up to 50% of severance liability as follows. A compassionate payment of 50% of an employee's severance pay only, payable in cash, bonds or land, or on a combination of the foregoing wherever possible. Bonds will be issued for a term of 10 years at the rate of 2%. Where lands form part of the government's offer, a non-citizen land holding license will be waived by the Cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda in respect of employees who are not citizens of Antigua and Barbuda. The government will waive the stamp duty on the transfer of lands, of any lands acquired from the ground of any former LIAT employee as part of the compassionate payment. Madam President, that was the level of where things, the discussions continue to roll out. And as I go, under the situation, Madam President, you're coming and telling that lands, bonds, and the cash. Obviously, if I'm representing, because you asked me to go and speak to all the unions throughout the Caribbean, how would that represent? Yes, including Barbados, including every single person, everybody. And they basically sat down, well, Comrade Massiah, how is it that you're going to tell me that you're Prime Minister? I am from St. Vincent, I am from St. Lucia. How am I going to own land in Antigua and Barbuda? That cannot work. This is a matter that went to every single one, Madam President. How will that work?
Which letter are we reading from? Sorry, because I'm seeing two, and one said something about waiver of the non-citizen landholding license. So which letter are you reading from, sir?
It's supposed to be November 19th.
November 19th.
Thompson.
Okay, I saw the waiver of the non-citizen landholding license, so I was wondering if I missed something. Sorry. I just wanted to be clear that is the same letter. Thank you. Proceed.
Am I misleading you, Madam President?
I was a little, because I saw the statement there about where lands form part of the government's offer, a non-citizen landholding license would be waived. And you said that they were wondering how would they hold lands in Antigua when they're not Antiguan. So I saw that. I was just seeking some clarity as to which letter we were reading from.
Madam President.
Yes, sir.
I am just coming back to you to tell you exactly what the people were saying to me. So,
yes.
I mean, that is what it is.
Right.
So I gave you the letter as a matter of a guide, just to show you, to give you context as to what the discussions we had over the period of time. Okay?
Proceed. That's what I said. Proceed.
Fine. Thank you. So against the backdrop, that is what the people were saying to me. So I said, let us have a dialogue with the administrator or the government representative at the time, so we can understand exactly what it is that people are talking about, what it is that they have to deal with. And so, Madam President, we are not getting that. On the 25th, you would have seen, on the 25th of November, on a letterhead from the Antigua and Barbuda Workers' Union, I would have responded at the time to the minister, or to Mr. Konata Lee. And that letter, and I'm using the second paragraph, which says, in earlier correspondence, the Honorable Prime Minister, both Honorable Lennox Weston, LIAT 1974 Limited, Administrator Mr. Cleveland Seaford, we set out, and that is to say as a union, we set out the parameters within which the 50% offer, having always, and I put that in bracket, having always contended and stated, was a partial and initial payment of the overall entitlement, could be put into effect, and sought to have dialogue on the matter where there could be a meeting of the minds which could have allowed for the commencement of the implementation by the 31st of October 2021. We wanted to talk long ago. We are ready. The 50% is there. All we're saying, yes, we're going to hold the 50%, but we're not giving up the right to the 100%. And that is
Madam
where
President,
we're going.
Madam President,
And so, Madam President,
I rise on a point of order.
What is your point of order?
The point of order is that the Honorable Senator is trying to mislead this Honorable House. He's trying to mislead the nation of Antigua and Barbuda, yea, the entire Caribbean, that the government of Antigua and Barbuda owes the employees of LIAT 100% settlement. I'm on a point of order.
Madam President,
It is in the letter.
What is the point
It
of
is
order?
in the letter. I just said it.
Madam President, what is the point of order? Because I have not said so out of my mouth today.
It's in the letter.
You have
just
not said
read
so.
it. You just read it.
It did not say that. Madam President, what is the point of order?
Having
Ask
always
the member to sit down. Ask the member to sit down. Ask the member to sit down. There's no point of order for him to stand upon. There's no point of order.
Madam President,
The last time I checked is one presiding officer you all have elected, right? And she's sitting down. Don't let me stand up tall. Only one person should be standing. Senator Frederick, when did the Honorable Senator say that is 100% that the members were
he
entitled
read
to?
it. Madam President,
Did he say that they were entitled to
Mr.
100%?
Cleveland Seaforth, we set out parameters within which the 50% and 50% in bracket offer,
I see the
having
letter.
always contended and stated, was a partial and initial payment of the overall entitlement. And then he went on to say that we never gave up the 100% entitlement.
Yes.
And my eyes might not be good, but the ears work
Yeah,
well.
I accept that that is what he said, but I don't think that he said that they were entitled to it.
But the word
No,
entitlement
I
is-
don't think that he said that they were entitled to it. He said they never gave up on the 100%. Whether they're entitled to the 100%
overall
or not.
entitlement.
Whether they are, wait, I'm ruling and
Sorry,
I'm
sorry,
still
Madam
being,
President, you go ahead.
I feel like
I
I'm
have
being
my
attacked
chance.
here. I am saying to you, sir, that I heard what he said. I see what is written. I did not hear him say that they were entitled to the 100%. I mean, you can infer it, but what I heard him say was that they did not give up on the 100%, as opposed to the offer of what was presented. I think that it sounds like splitting hairs, but if we're going technically, he didn't say that. Yes? So I hear your point of order. I don't think that he did say that they were entitled to. He said they did not give up. So if we're looking at the words used, he didn't say entitled to. He said they didn't give up on the 100%. Yes? So Senator Massiah, please continue. And please, Senator Massiah, I don't need your help or protection either. So when I recognize a member on a point of order, I have to hear it, and then I rule on the point of order. And you don't shout at me and tell me that I need to not let him stand up and he needs to sit down. That's totally unparliamentary behavior and language and conduct. And that I will not tolerate at all. So please, I would recognize your apology. Thank you.
Madam President, at this moment, I'll tell you that I apologize, because it meant no disrespect to you sitting in that chair. And I do humbly apologize if it came across in that way to you, Madam President. Right? And so that is where it is. Madam President, I continue. As I said, the response from the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union sought to, at that time, Madam President, was to seek to have dialogue. Every time throughout our discourse is to have dialogue so that we can have a meeting of the mind. Because everybody and anybody can write letters back and forth to explain where they want to go. But the important thing is when we sit down and let us know exactly so that we can meet, diet. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Okay, fine, we dot the I's, cross the T's, and we settle and move on. That is what dialogue and consultation is. That is what you call an economic powerhouse. People do within an economic powerhouse to sit down with people across the table and deal with things properly. And it is not done there. And so, Madam President, under the situation, that the information in that letter, I continue and there was a response. And I'm not going to read so much of the response. I mean, from the Cabinet on the 13th of December, 2021 again. And the second paragraph, the Cabinet reiterates that its offer of compassionate payment exceeds that of any other shareholder government at this time, and that a request for further negotiations on the matter is unreasonable and unwarranted under the circumstances. I am reading and highlighting those things, Madam President, just to show that at every step, the government continued to just block us, even to just come and tell us, well, okay, look, let us sit down around the table based on all that you're saying, and we're going to point out to you where you're going wrong against this situation, against everything, and nothing. Madam President, there's a document that I give to you, and I just want to bring to your attention the last one with the draft proposal settlement for employee severance pay. That is a document that you have with the layout. It has the option 1, the background and benefits offer.
Is that one caption?
The Late 1974 Limited in Administration draft proposal.
Okay.
You have that one, Madam President?
Yes, I do. Am I speaking softly?
No, I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. I do.
So I am just going to read the second paragraph of that document, because of course it had figures and so on. I'm not going to. Just to bring out exactly where I'm going with my argument over the period.
Sorry, am I to be clear that this is the draft that you, the workers' union, sent to?
No. This is what was sent to us.
This was sent to you?
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Thanks.
The government remains mindful of the plight of the former employees of the company during this time, and has led an initiative amongst the shareholding governments to seek and coordinate support for the workers up to a maximum of 50% of the amount of their calculated severance by way of a compassionate fund, options payment. I think I'm missing the part. Let me just make sure that I have it here. Okay, now I'm reading the first page, Madam Leader. The date this was basically issued on the July 31st, 2020.
It's not dated. Let me help you because you're at your time.
This is July, this was dated, it was basically, if you look, there's July dated.
There's 3 documents. I think there are only about 3 or 4 copies, so I sent them to the leader and maybe the independent senators along that line. It's a document with a table. That's the only document that would have been circulated with the table, and at the top it says, Liat 1974 Limited in Administration Draft Proposal for Settlement of Employee Severance Pay. It's printed in draft as the watermark, but it's the only document that would have been circulated with the table.
Yes.
Please proceed, Senator Massiah, and as I say, you're at your mark. I'm hoping you're wrapping up now.
My mark in saying how much, I have 2 more minutes?
Oh, you passed your 2 more minutes in spite of the interruptions and the ruling.
I mean, the interruptions
So I expected.
and so on, so I thought that
you tell me you need no protection. You can ask it. No.
No.
No, I did. I factored in the point of order that you interrupted me on ruling as well.
So Madam President,
You're wasting even more time now.
So no, I'm craving the indulgence to get an extra 5 minutes on that.
Well, your 5 minutes would be a wrap up.
No.
If you want more than the 5 minutes, you have to seek the court, Lord. You have to seek the House's approval. So if you accept that you're going to be more than 5 minutes long.
Madam President, I will still ask your chair, because you're the ones that sit in the chair. You said you'll tell me to guide me. I am seeking an extra 5 to 10 minutes, more or less, to wrap up on the whole aspect of my
10 minutes max to wrap up.
10 minutes, no problem. Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, on page 2, or just at the below concept 3, the program, just the form. I'm just reading the first area. These programs, concepts, are in draft form for discussions purposes only and is expected to change as detailed discussions evolve over the finalization and agreement of a definitive offer to the employees. I pull that out, Madam President, just to actually show that the union continue over the period of time to have the dialogue, request the dialogue. And what the Prime Minister did, the Prime Minister and his team and so on, they're not meeting with us. They're not talking with us. And then they create this whole thing about that they were going to, whilst the cabinet set was communicating with the unions, like a thief in the night, there was a press release issued from what's his name, Mr. Massiah, saying that the government would have made an offer to the administrator of $2 million to give a Christmas cheer to the workers of late who have been suffering, and ask the people them to come forward and take the stuff. Madam President, when you look at your letters, one of the documents that I give you, the last letter that I make reference to, is the one of December 22nd, 2021. And Madam President, I would read the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th paragraph, the 5th sentence there. It says, "Dear sir, your severance entitlement was previously communicated to you as being $8,491.58. Under the government's compassionate settlement offer, you are entitled to 50% of that, which represents or which has been computed as $4,245.79. Based on the 30% cash component allocation, your entitlement is $1,273.74. You are therefore, your partial cash component, now this is coming down to the partial, your partial cash component for your severance pay entitlement under the government's compassionate settlement offer has been calculated at $533.38 at this time." Now, I'm just saying, so you're telling a gentleman who has been waiting and struggling.
I'm sorry, Senator. There's no named person here on this document.
Madam
It's not
President,
addressed. Is it a draft? Is it? I'm not sure I'm understanding the context. It was?
Madam President, I deliberately had take out the person name. I took out the person.
So you redacted it?
Yes.
Okay, to protect the
Because,
person.
to protect
right.
the person.
So this person would have been entitled based on his particulars?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did not want to, so that is what I did there. If you see the mark in the outline there, that
All I'm seeing, sir, is blank. So I have failing eyesight, so I'm just wondering. Thank you for the context.
I would not, Madam President, I know you didn't hear what the leader of government business, I know you did not hear what, but I mean, it was not nice.
No, well, whatever was said, as I keep telling people who are on their feet, if you read the Hansard and somebody who's not on their feet speak, all you hear is inaudible chatter.
No, it goes out.
It goes out?
Yeah, and I'm just saying that, I mean,
I
was
didn't
not
hear.
nice. Because
Okay.
I would not impute that against any member, and I'll just say that. But I mean, no. Madam
Okay,
President,
can we move on, please?
Yeah, I'm moving on. Madam President, I'm just saying, when you look at that aspect, and we were saying what we wanted to do, let us sit down and talk. Because look, Mr. Administrator, Mr. Prime Minister, the government, within all the people that has to get money from LEAT, rather than tie these people up with if you're giving them the 50%, I mean, you could liquidate these people. Some small monies. Let us sit down and talk. Deal with this issue. And so, Madam President, we continue to ride the wave. And we write and appeal to the Prime Minister for dialogue. at no time in May of 2021, it was clear to us, and we indicated that we are accepting that 50% as unions, and that we will do it, but under the conditions which was laid out. And we did that. So we are not saying that we're closing down, but when you're the Prime Minister of a country, you just don't shut off and cut people down and then tell people this is it and take it or leave it. There's nothing. Don't come here to discuss nothing. And so, Madam President, the saga goes on and continue. And we continue to knock on the doors for dialogue. And now, of recent time, the Prime Minister has indicated, especially because he says that the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union is playing politics. And we want to say in this honorable house this afternoon that I must congratulate the governments of St. Lucia and Barbados for recognizing and acknowledging that they're going to take care of their people and paid whatever it is that they're paying to those people. The Prime Minister of Barbados recently indicated, and it would have been circulated, $75,000 as the threshold. Okay, Madam President, $75,000. And then anybody over $75,000 would get that in bonds. Madam President, all we are saying, Madam President, that is the type and pay them, and the others you can owe them along the way. Madam President, to be fair to the government of Antigua and Barbuda, I accept that in a nutshell, that it is not just the Antigua government that should be basically looking at this matter. It is not, because you have a group of shareholders, and they should have all come together. But the Prime Minister and the government of this country, and so on, said that they asked the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, if you could get all the unions in the Caribbean to agree to the position that we want, then we will go to the rest of the Caribbean countries and begin to sell that idea. And we did. And none of them, they have not been able to go to any Caribbean governments to sell anything. So the process is still with him. And understand that the government of Antigua has to take on the moral process that they're looking at. Simply because if people remembered, when the government went ahead and put the LEAT into administration, the two shareholders, major shareholders, decided, well, whenever the 120 days done, then you can come and tell me how you're going to wind up LEAT 1974 Limited. So there's no LEAT 2020 running as some people might believe. Is that a LEAT 2020? It is still LEAT 1974 Limited because it's in administration. It's in administration, and so by right, it is still there. And so, Madam President, under the situation, the discussion that needs to be had, the Prime Minister is asking that he's not talking to us until he go, then we can go to all the governments. Nobody going to listen because you have it in court. Tell us what the administration has yielded so far. Why is it that it is so secretive? And I'm using these grounds to ask the lawyers that represent the administrator that the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union is begging, please. The Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union is begging, please, to get an understanding. Could you tell us what it is that within that court documents that is sealed that you don't want us to understand? That you use all the time to show to get the extension for 120 days straight all the time. What it is that you're using. And so, Madam President, that is where the Prime Minister needs to sit down and talk as the Prime Minister. And if you are looking and saying that your people, the people that you represent in Antigua and Barbuda, whether they voted for you or not, that you have a fiduciary responsibility to deal with the issue of LEAT and their severance in every sense, Madam President. And so, Madam President, this issue is not going to go away because the Prime Minister says take him to court. It's not about court. It's about the process, and we're still asking that the Prime Minister and the government of Antigua and Barbuda do right by the people of LEAT and the former employees and sit down and speak with us as the people in charge with the unions, the workers, and let us come to an amicable resolution to deal with the matter of late. Madam President, if it pleases you, I would want to more or less wrap up my presentation there. Thank you for your indulgence for the extra time, and I thank you for giving me that time, and that is my presentation on the budget, Madam President. Thank you very much.